Find the Reagan tape. Maple syrup.
Lies and politics. What could go wrong?
They thought they were clever. Canada just spent $75 million taxpayer dollars on the most expensive propaganda fail in history. They hijacked Ronald Reagan's voice, twisted his words, and launched an attack ad against Trump's trade policy. Big mistake. Huge mistake. Within hours, Trump terminated every single trade negotiation with Ottawa. No discussions, no compromises, done. And the Reagan Foundation is threatening lawsuits for unauthorized use of the Gipper's legacy. Canada's getting sued, sanctioned, and shut out. But here's the kicker. While Canada burns through cash on failed attack ads, American markets are exploding. Stocks up 36%. Interest rates are plummeting. The Trump effect is real. And Canada just learned the hard way. You don't mess with America. Now, it has been all over the news lately. President Trump's renewed focus on American mining and critical minerals. And right now, District Copper Corp is right in the middle of it, trading under the ticker CAXPF. They just announced a major U.S. partnership with Reacher Gold LLC, unlocking access to proven gold and silver assets across Nevada, Arizona, and Utah. Now, these aren't just exploration projects. They are real infrastructure-ready properties with verified stockpiles and historical high-grade production. This partnership gives District Copper immediate U.S. production potential and a powerful position in the metals market. With Washington investing billions to secure domestic copper and rare earth supplies, their cross-border strategy combining Canadian strength with new U.S. assets could not be better timed. Check out the link in the description to learn more, and big thanks to District Copper Corp for sponsoring today's video. So what is going on in the Great White North? They spent $75 million taxpayer dollars on this ad, which cost them everything.
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. But over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
Yep, that just cost them everything. President Trump terminating all trade talks between the U.S. and Canada after they ran an ad featuring Ronald Reagan speaking negatively on tariffs. Trump wrote in part on Truth Social, they only did this to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts. Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the USA based on their egregious behavior. All trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The Reagan Foundation said the ad misrepresents the presidential radio address, and the government of Ontario did not seek nor receive permission to use and edit the remarks. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute is reviewing its legal options in this matter. Here is Fox.
All trade negotiations with Canada. Yes, the on-again, off-again trade talks with our neighbors to the north are back off because of this commercial.
High tariffs inevitably...
Tariffs. Here, he posts. So that ad is the reason the president called off the trade talks, because he thinks it could taint upcoming Supreme Court rulings on tariffs. Here, he posted on Truth Social, they only did this to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts. Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the USA based on their egregious behavior. All trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. And the main star of that Canadian ad is Ronald Reagan. The Reagan Foundation says the ad misrepresents the presidential radio address, and the government of Ontario did not seek nor receive permission to use and edit the remarks. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute is reviewing its legal options in the matter. Later on tonight, in the 10 p.m. hour, after a full workday, the president is going to take off for a week in Asia. It's going to culminate with a sit-down with China's Xi. But first, the countries on the itinerary are Malaysia, Japan, and South Korea. That is where the Xi meeting is going to happen. Time magazine has President Trump on the cover again, some light reading for Air Force One. Part of their cover story titled Trump's World says he proposed relocating Gaza's population and remaking the Strip into the Riviera of the Middle East. Experts say the outlandish idea actually galvanized Arab negotiators and regional mediators to expedite a peace process. And a big thing with the time cover that you just saw twice on screen there, it is a much better photo of the president, one that he got to sit for, than this one, than the photo that they put on the cover 2 weeks ago that he did not like. Back to you.
But now we are learning the markets are on fire.
57. The markets are on fire as the CPI is coming out. Dow Industrials now up 257. Let's get to Cheryl Casoni with your CPI.
It came in better than expected, Maria. We came in 0.3% month over month. The street was looking for 0.4%. Year over year headline CPI coming in at 3%. The street was looking for 3.1%. Same story if you look at the core month over month. We came up 0.2%. Street was looking for 0.3. And then if you look at core year over year, that was at 3%. And I think this is what the market's looking at. We came in year over year core 3%. The expectation was 3.1, but that's lower than last month. We had 3.1% prior.
Markets are on fire as the CPI is coming out. Dow Industrials.
Markets on fire. More News Nation reaction.
Report headline here: markets are reacting pretty positively to this report, coming in better than expected, potentially meaning that inflation is starting to moderate a little bit more, and that the Fed is more likely to do a rate cut come around this time next weekend. Headline here: markets are acting.
Yeah, I think we could all use a rate cut. That's the final piece of the economy that needs to happen. CNBC, oh yeah, they're calling it the Trump effect.
Consumer price. Here's our late but coming out September read on the consumer price index. Headline number up 0.3, 1/10 cooler than both rearview mirror and what we were expecting. And if we look at the stripping out of food and energy known as core, it comes in also a bit less than expected, up 0.2. We were expecting up 0.3. Our last look was up 0.3. Here's the Moneyball numbers. Year over year, 3%. And even though it's less than the 3.1 we were expecting, it's hotter than 2.9. And after all, it's got a 3 handle. And if we look at CPI year over year ex food and energy, it also comes in at 3%. We were also expecting 3.1, but last look was 3.1, so it cooled a bit. So we're seeing interest rates move down and stocks move up. Here's our late but coming.
Finally, some movement. Here we have this from Joe Kernan about the stock market.
Rick, the stock market has been telling us what to believe ever since Liberation Day. The stock market said this is not going to be the end of the world. Like so many, like almost unanimously, business reporters that tariffs were the end of the world. And here we are, up, what are we up, 36% since then? Rick,
Liberation Day, remember that? Here's the U.S.-Canada trade war in 15 seconds.
Doomed to recession. As you can see from this graph, the entire economy of Canada relies on tans and billet. Without them, we are doomed to recession.
What say you, Mr. American Ambassador?
Fuck Canada!
Hey, fuck you, buddy!
Oh, man. And now they're talking about the Reagan ad and Sky News Australia. The fake Reagan ad went global.
Well, breaking news, Donald Trump has declared the US is ceasing all trade negotiations with Canada. The US president says the country used a fake ad featuring former President Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs.
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, inevitably bring a fierce down, a way to bring fair.
There you go, that was the ad.
Fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
There you go, that was the ad. posting the announcement on Truth Social. Trump says, based on their egregious behaviour, all trade negotiations with Canada are terminated. Well, breaking news.
Yeah, that ad cost them everything. Here's the Ronald Reagan presidential, I guess, would this be the Presidential Foundation and Institute? Here's the president's unedited remarks. They link to the YouTube video. Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation Institute learned that the government of Ontario created an ad using selective audio and video of President Reagan delivering his radio address to the nation on free and fair trade dated April 25, 1987. The ad misrepresents the presidential radio address, and the government of Ontario did not seek or receive permission to use and edit the remarks. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation is reviewing its legal options. We encourage you to watch President's unedited video on our YouTube channel. I guess we could probably try and play some of it here.
Logical changes they need to succeed in world markets. And then, while all this is going on, something even worse occurs. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition. So soon, because of the prices made artificially high by tariffs that subsidize inefficiency and poor management, people stop buying. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. The memory of all this occurring back in the 30s made me determined when I came to Washington to spare the American people the protectionist legislation that destroys prosperity. Now, it hasn't always...
So, they are fighting back at the Presidential Foundation of Ronald Reagan. Another speech a year before. Let's see. He's clear in many of the videos. Tariffs and retaliation will devastate. This has got to be fake. This looks totally fake. The Ronald Reagan Foundation announcing that Canada has fraudulently used an advertisement which is fake, featuring Reagan speaking negatively on tariffs. The ad was spent $75 million. They only did this to interfere with $75 million. Unbelievable. Yeah, you shouldn't have done that, guys. Now you're back in the gutter. Well, maybe you'll be the 51st state soon, though. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is what happens when you poke the bear. Canada thought they could manipulate Reagan's legacy to attack Trump. They thought that $75 million of taxpayer money could buy them leverage. They thought wrong. Trump's response was swift, brutal, and final. All trade talks terminated. No second chances, no negotiations, just consequences. And look at the results. While Canada scrambles to explain why they blew millions on a failed propaganda campaign, American markets are celebrating. CNBC can't believe their eyes. Stocks soaring, rates dropping, the economy on fire. Even liberal outlets admit the Trump effect is undeniable. This is what America First looks like in action. You attack us, you lose. You play games, you pay the price. Here's my question. Was Trump right to completely cut off Canada over the fake Reagan ad? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments. While Canada's crying, grab some winning gear from our merch shop. It's linked below.